Yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, well, I'll get back to you very shortly. Just give me a call back after Mindy's. Yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, fantastic. All right, let's back. Oh, I'm on. Give me a second. I'm on live. 1 minute. Talk to you later. All right, bye. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, bye. Hey, welcome to the Friday Night Live show with Stuey V. We are going to have some fun today. We're going to go straight into the interview. We're not going to waste any time. We're going to do our announcements a little bit later on. So we're going to get straight into it today. We're not going to waste any time. This is season 1, episode 9 of a Friday Night Live show. And we've got an amazing host, amazing guest coming on, Mindi Miller. Mindi Miller is here live and loud on the show. We've also got the amazing Paul Fenech as well. I say amazing a lot of times, apparently, I've been told. So I'm going to count how many times I say it now. So we're going to go straight into it. And the phone again. Give me 1 second. I'll get it. Yeah, I know she's backstage. Yep, she's got minimal time. I understand that. We are going to get stuck into it. All right. Yeah, yep. They hang up on me. Typical. They always hang up on me. Always. All right. We're not going to waste any time, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna play this video first before we get this amazing lady on, and just watch this of some of her acting career. Here we go. You'll enjoy this.
She was an outcast, dishonored among her own people.
Must go.
The wife of a chief, thrust into a conflict that tore her world apart.
What's the name? Yeah, I'm gonna send him his woman dead.
Her own child killed by fever, she nursed the trapper's infant son.
Now what's he saying?
He figures the baby belongs to them.
See Sacred Ground, starring Tim McIntyre and Jack Elam.
That's right, legend. Please welcome to the show, and please welcome actress, model, spokesperson, stuntwoman, karate expert, Elvis's former girlfriend and close friend of Elvis and the Memphis Mafia. Please welcome Ms. Mindi Miller. Mindi,
Hello.
welcome to the show.
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, my dear. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for your time coming on the show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. That was quite an introduction.
I tried to list it all down, but had not enough room on the page for it.
Yeah, you did. You did very, very well. You did well. How are you doing sitting there at Graceland? I love it.
I know. I just thought I'd relax at Graceland and come out the front and take you back home. So give you a feeling of being home.
You could not be at a better place, Stuey.
Fantastic.
Best place on earth. Best place on
Yes,
earth.
I do agree.
Yeah.
Look, before we go into the questions about Elvis, let's talk about you. Now, you were born and raised in California, LA. What was it like growing up in LA?
Very Hollywood. It was very Hollywood. I was adopted at birth, and I did not know that both of my natural parents were in show business. And in fact, Jack Elam, the big character actor that you just showed on Sacred Ground, was a friend of my dad's. And
Right,
the whole
okay.
2.5 months we were shooting in Chiloquin, Oregon, which was outside Medford, Rocky Point. He did not know that my dad had a daughter, and I did not know that he knew my dad. So
Wow.
he did about three or four films with my father. Jack Elam was a very big character actor. If you Google him, you'll die.
I've seen him in a couple. When I looked at the trailer, I actually saw
Yeah.
him, and I've seen him in a few movies. I was like, wow, can't believe he actually worked with this guy. Unbelievable.
Yeah, he had a wandering eye. And Tim McIntyre, who is the son of Jeanette Nolan, and he was a brilliant actor. He unfortunately passed away about 3 months after we finished that. And the director, Charles Pierce, did some great movies. I think he's originally from Louisiana. I think Louisiana or Kentucky, but I think it's
Okay.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
And he did Bogey Creek and Return to Bogey Creek, and his daughter is still a very good friend of mine, and she's living in New Hampshire. But growing up in LA, it was very Hollywood. It was not. It was very normal to go to a supermarket and see stars, and they're just shopping for food. And anywhere between LA and the San Fernando Valley, where I grew up, I remember seeing Charlton Heston, and Charlton Heston
Wow.
was buying liquor in the liquor store at Turner's, which was around the corner from Gazzari's. And Gazzari's was the hot place at that time to go dancing. And I went home to my mom and I said, Mom, you'll never guess who I saw. And, he was huge. He's very, very tall, like, I don't know, 6'5" or something. Or
Yeah,
6'4".
that's right, yeah.
Very, very tall man. And I said, Mom, and I didn't know who it was. And I said, I just saw Moses buying liquor. She goes, oh, she says, you mean Charlton Heston? And I went, yeah. I mean, it was so normal. And, you see people all the time. I mean, even now, you'll see people just driving in their car. They're walking down the street, or they're in Beverly Hills or Hollywood. It's just real normal to see it. So I grew up with it. And so when I met Elvis, it wasn't that it wasn't a big deal, because he was one of the bigger stars and celebrities. But I was very calm about it. I wasn't, a big fan of his or
Yeah, yeah,
anything.
that's right.
'Cause
Yeah, yeah.
I started in the industry at 12, and stayed at it most of my life. And then I was in television. I was in radio and advertising,
And you
pre-production,
you did you did
post-production.
modeling as you ventured into modeling as well, the modeling world for a number of years.
Yeah, when I was really young and skinny at 13, and my neighbor came to my mom and said, your daughter's like 5'8", and she's 13 years old, and she's really thin, because I hadn't filled out yet. And she said, why didn't you get her into modeling? So I did, and then I entered a beauty pageant at 13, and I started teaching by the time I was 16. So I've been in it my whole life. I mean, I know a lot of people. I've met some incredible people, and it's been a really interesting, long journey. And
Interesting.
I'll
I know how you highlighted long journey.
no, it is. I mean, imagine I've been in it since 12, and I'll be 70 in July.
Yeah, you're turning a big 7-0 this year. That's right. Not only a few
I
weeks.
can't
Yeah.
even believe it. I'm in such denial. It's like crazy.
And you
I
do
now,
not look it. No, no way in the
thank
world
you,
do you look that. No, you look
thank you.
amazing. You look amazing. Now,
It took a village tonight. It took a
yeah.
village,
Now
and
you've been in many movies.
I don't mean the village people.
Yeah. I was going to start singing YMCA then, but
Right?
MCA.
Right, right. Oh God.
Now you've been in many movies over the years. Now TV shows. 73, you're in Hell Up in Harlem. 75, Switch with Robert Wagner. 76, you're in Munster Squad. 77, Quark. Now, here's actually a bit of snippet of Mindy Miller in Quark, that very same TV show.
Wait!
Commander, be careful. I sense that something on this planet has the power to cloud our minds.
Cloud our minds?
Where did she go?
I know you, don't I? Work here.
Commander, this is Gene.
What? I can't hear you.
He's all tied up.
That's awesome. And you're in Knight Rider, NBC TV miniseries V. I actually remembered that. How did your acting career take off for you? That was awesome.
I was very lucky, to be very honest with you, because looking back now, I realize that when you look at most of the people in the business now, it's very generational. There, a lot of
Yeah.
the younger people that are in it, their parents were in it.
Yeah.
When you look at, and I can't even think of, let's say Angelina Jolie. I mean, her dad was in it, and you see so many of these stars. I mean, and celebrities, Diana Ross's daughter, Tracy Ross. They have they have a foot in, and it's easier for them to get a foot in. If you're a director. Oh, and there's Bryan Cranston. You see how young Bryan Cranston
Yeah, that's
is?
right. Very young there. That's right. Yeah.
Very young. That was one of his first films. I played his wife in that film, and Ernest Borgnine, and it was considered at the time a B film. And it took Brian 35 years to make it big. I mean, people work that long and that hard to make it in the industry, and you have to stay in it, because the minute you walk away, it's very tough to get back in. It's like a spoke on a wheel. You take out that spoke on the wheel and try and put it back. It's it's rare that it's going to work. You have to have a big name to leave it and come back in. So I was very lucky because I didn't know that my parents were in it. My mom was a singer, dancer, actress. My grandmother on my mother's side was an opera singer. My dad
Wow.
was a major stuntman. He was a big character actor. The year I was born, 1950, he did a big film called The Sundowners
I've
with
heard of
Jack
that.
Elam, yeah, and
Yeah.
Alan Ladd.
Yes.
Um, so he worked with everybody, and he was known as the bullwhip man of Hollywood. He did a ton of stunts, but his last job was at 75 years young with Carol Burnett, and she specifically asked for him. And he came from Europe, from Poland. So who knew I was half Polish? And my mother was half Spanish and half German. So I always thought I was Italian with the dark hair, you know. So then I went to live in Italy thinking I was Italian and I needed to find my roots, and here I wasn't. But it was fun, and I traveled and I met great people, and I had dinner at Henry Mancini's house, and I
Wow.
was dating David Tebbutt at the time. I was really young. He was 60 years old. I was like 18. Okay. And but nothing happened. But he would, older men in Hollywood, they want young women. That's the problem. They like
Yeah.
young women. Women my
Nothing's
age,
changed.
nothing, yeah, things don't change. Let's be honest. So, women in my age group don't have a shot. Now, I mean, you're better off going someplace else out of Hollywood to meet somebody. But I remember to my left was Roger Moore, the Saint, and double O
Oh,
Seven. So Roger Moore is
big
sitting there.
fan. Big
I
fan.
Roger Moore is a great guy, and he was sitting next to me on my left. And David Tebbutt, who is the president of NBC Television, is my date, and he's sitting on the right. And across from me is Henry Mancini, who did all the Pink Panther movies, which Elvis loved,
Yep.
and his wife. So it's this big round table down the street from the Beverly Hills Hotel, and Roger Moore leans over to me and he's talking, and he's my dinner partner to my left. And, I was pretty sophisticated for 18, 19, 20 years old, I have to say. And I'd been around, and working. So it wasn't anything out of the normal. But he leaned over to me and he said, "You know who you're sitting next to, don't you?" And I said, "Yes, my date." And he said, "Well, it's David Tebbutt, the president of NBC." I said, "Yes, I know that." And he looked at me and he was eating, and then he whispered in my ear, and I went over to him to look like this. And he said, he says, "I've got two daughters, or one daughter, forget." He says, but he says, "I wouldn't dare let her out to date an older man like that." And I just looked at him incredulously, and I just went, "Oh, okay," like that. And I just smiled. I didn't know what to say. I thought, well, I'm not going to get myself in trouble. But he was letting me know that he did not approve of it,
Yeah, yeah.
which was crazy.
Now you've trained extensively in karate, Shotokan and Kempo. Now, in addition, you've trained in firearms, sword fighting, horseback riding, hand-to-hand combat, gymnastics. Where did all that stem from? Obviously, your dad was he was a stuntman, so
Yeah.
you've obviously followed up on that. But the karate side of things, where did that stem from?
It's something I just always wanted to do. I
Yeah,
was more of a tomboy, even now. And the thing of it is that in in the entertainment industry, the more you're able to do, the more you're going to get hired. So there weren't a lot of women doing stunt work at the time, and I was one of the first actresses that actually did her own stunt work. And I very, very rarely ever had a stunt person. And some of the stunts were so difficult, they actually had to get stunt men to double for me.
wow,
And
okay.
yeah, and so I doubled for other women, but I think once or twice I had a woman double for me. And the only time they did it was if they really felt your life was in danger. And I remember once when well not one well it was a couple of times there were some really dangerous things. I was supposed to go tread across a cavern in Amazons, and it was I don't know how many feet below, and there was nothing below. I mean, if I slipped or my hand slipped, I was dead. And I said, no, I really want to do it. And they said, we can't let you go all the way across. And I said, well, okay. So what happens is I've got this rope above my head, and I'm supposed to be traversing on the rope, coming across the rope, swinging my legs and all that. So I went out as far as they would allow me to, and then I came back in. But then they actually had a guy dressed up as me with a wig and the same costume as mine, and he went all the way across. So then I went across, I walked around and went across, and then I backed up on the rope, literally backed up. And then they said, okay, come forward. And I would come forward and we'd retake it over and over. So I had to go back, come in, go back, reverse it, and come in.
I saw that snippet as well. Yeah, I saw that
Yeah,
snippet. Yeah.
as if I traversed the whole thing. So I wanted to do as many of my own stunts as I could. Um, and it was fun. And, I mean, one of the prerequisites that you had to know how to act and hit your mark and all
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But B, you had to be able to ride a horse, with the sword in your hand, flailing around, do the karate. Then you had to be able to do the nunchucks and, then sword fight.
Well,
Uh,
talking about that movie, Amazons, I've actually got a snippet from that movie. That was you were a lead role in that movie as well, weren't you?
Yeah, I played a
Yeah.
character named Diala, and it was fun. And I took the role not so much because I had great acting ability, but it offered me to go to Buenos Aires, Argentina. So I
Oh,
took a lot of these B films that I did. And you don't start at the top in the entertainment business.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you can do 20, 30 B films before you even get a small role in an A film. It takes time.
Yeah, that's right.
You have to build up to it. Like I said, Bryan Cranston took him over 30 years to make it big, and he was a working actor.
Yeah.
Um, but I took a lot of stuff to be able to travel, like to the Philippines, to Europe, to Rome, to Canada, to Mexico. So I traveled all over the world. And that was basically because I love to travel. I love to meet people. And I love history. I'm a voracious reader of history. So if my agent knew if there was a film going somewhere that was really cool to visit, I took it. It didn't mean it was a great film or I did a great job in it because it wasn't great writing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it was fun. I got paid and I got to travel.
Yeah, exactly. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here's a
Yeah.
bit of a snippet from Amazons as well, that very same movie that Mindy had a lead role in. Here we go.
The Outlaws.
I love that roundhouse kick you done. I watched that and I've replayed it a few times.
Everybody goes, why didn't you just do it nude? And I'm like, that's the outfit. What can I tell you? What can I
I watched the snippet before that. I went, I can't put that bit in the show.
The thing is, in Hollywood, you do love scenes, you kiss people you've never met before. I remember once I had a kissing scene with the actor that I never even met. And we had to do a kissing scene. We said hi, and he had to go right into it. I mean, it's normal in Hollywood and in the acting industry. It's just normal. It's different than doing theater or stage on Broadway or off Broadway in New York. And I know that there are Elvis fans that don't approve of it, and they're Southern and they're Baptist and they're religious, and I respect that and I understand it. But when you're an actor and you're in that industry, you're called on to do things, and sometimes you can say no, but a lot of times you won't work. And I
Yeah,
had the body. I did.
yeah.
I couldn't
You
help it.
did, yeah, that's right.
I
Well,
did a
there's
lot
a
of
video, there's a photo that I'm putting up now. That's for you from Amazon. So you
Yeah,
did
I
have a
mean,
body, yeah.
I did a lot of bodybuilding. I did a ton of weightlifting. I worked out constantly. I'm still a size 4. I still train. I still lift weights. I still run and jog. I try to keep myself in the best shape. And, I apologize to people if nudity or partial nudity offends them. I really do, especially in the Elvis community. But, I wasn't the only one. And Elvis dated a lot of women that did Playboy, a lot of women that did nudity, including Anne Margaret.
Yeah.
Barbara Lee, I can go down the list. Sheila Ryan. What can I tell you? I mean,
Yeah.
it's part of the job. You can say no, but in my case, I had the body, and they were looking at me as like a little, another Raquel Welch. I'm not Meryl Streep. I never pretended to be. I had a great time. I can do dramatic work. But at this point, they're not going to hire me and say, "Oh, put on your bathing suit," which is great at 70.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they would. I don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
I don't know.
They might do a remake of Amazon's and put you in the
I
movies. You
don't
don't know.
know. Right? I mean,
You know.
that was the time that Raquel Welch was hot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
everybody wanted to do Playboy. Everybody wanted to be in Playboy. So I can't apologize for it.
And
What can I say? It's 40 years ago, 30,
that's
40
right.
years ago.
Exactly. And in the 70s and 80s, Bo Derek also was
Yeah.
the big highlight as well. In like she was in with Dudley Moore. She acted with Dudley Moore in 10. So
Yeah.
she really took off with her as well in that sort of area as well.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
mean, people want to be entertained. Men like to see attractive women.
yeah.
Women like to see attractive women. But I also like to see great drama, and I like to see, great acting, and I like all of it. I mean, I'm entertained by all of it. I don't
That's right.
do I
Yeah.
don't do, pornography or anything like that. That's
Yeah.
that's something for somebody else, and it's not for me to put them down. It's not what I would do, but if somebody wants to do it, I'm sure there are people and guys that find it very entertaining.
Yeah.
And you
Exactly.
just
Exactly.
Hollywood, you have to have an open mind. You just
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
You
That's
know.
right. That's right. Now let's move on to your first meeting with Elvis. When was that special moment?
I can't remember the exact date. I think it was either March the 12th or March the 13th of 1975. And it was the day that he had finished wrapping up at RCA Studios. It was his last time that he recorded there. And he recorded the song Trouble, which he sang to me in his bedroom at 144 Montvale. And yeah, and he took me up to the bedroom and he said, "Honey," he said, "it's not what you think it is." I said, "I'm not going to say anything. I won't say
Yeah.
anything." That was toward the evening, as the evening went on, and he had the tape, those old tapes that run reel to reel, and
Yeah.
he stood back. He was wearing his work, not workout, but his lounging, with the
Yeah.
stripes down the side, and
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. His tracksuit pants. Yeah. Yeah.
his tracksuit. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
I want to say sweats, but they weren't sweats. And so he said, "Honey," he said, "I just finished the song." He said, "And you'll be the first person to ever hear it." And I went, "Oh, wow, that's very cool." So I was the first person to hear it, and there it was. It was Trouble, and he sang along to the track. I
Wow.
mean, it wasn't his voice. He just had the music, and he sang it. And I sat there on the edge of the bed. And when he finished, he goes, "How'd you like it?" And I said, "I love it." And it's a very rockabilly song, kind of
Great song.
country, and
Yeah. Yeah.
it was one of my favorite songs he actually ever did. And I mean, I love all his gospel, of course, but I really fell in love with that song that night.
Yeah, yeah, well, you would have
Yeah.
definitely. Now, yourself and Elvis was together in 75 and 76. He was juggling. How was juggling your career in LA and him traveling and also living in Memphis, like back and forward? How hard was that?
Well, the thing of it is I was living in Rome, Italy when I met him, and I had only
Right,
come
okay.
back. I had only come back for that week to close at my apartment in Los Angeles, sell my car, and take the rest of my clothes. And I was moving back to Rome permanently. I love Europe, and I came back that week, and I went out dancing to a private club, and somebody said, You need to come to this house. It's going to be a big party. And I'd had a premonition 2 years before that I would meet him. He drove by me in the Stutz Bearhawk, and I passed him, and it was like somebody hit me in the head. And I turned to my girlfriend Carol, and I said, Carol, I said, not only am I going to meet Elvis, I'm going to know him. And I do have a psychic ability, and
Yeah.
sure enough, 2.5 years later, I met him, but I was only invited to the house for a
So, because
party. I didn't.
you both had a very spiritual connection, didn't you?
Very much so. I
Yeah,
mean, he
yeah,
bought me a ton of spiritual books on our
yeah,
first date that first night that I still have. I still have them. They're over 45 years old. And when I go to, when I go around the country and around the world and people invite me, I always bring the spiritual books, and I always share things that he underlined or that he had me underline and that he studied in the same books that he gave me. So we would study together all the time, and he tried to get other girlfriends of his involved, but most of them were not into it, and the Memphis
yeah,
Mafia guys weren't into it. So,
yeah,
besides myself, it was me and Larry Geller basically.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that was we had a lot in common, but that's what really sunk it for both of us.
Beautiful. So now you went on tour with Elvis in '75, didn't you?
Yes, I
What
went
was
on
your
tour.
reaction to that?
Um, the first stop he had me come in was Florida, and I don't remember if it was Tampa or exactly what city it was. And from there, we toured all around. We toured in Florida. We went and did the big concert that he did for free to raise money for the people for the what was it, the tornado or the hurricane, I think it was. Um, and I think this is where we're getting off the plane to do it. But it was wild. I mean, we never stopped. It's no wonder he was so tired all the time
Yeah,
because,
yeah,
uh, we were always on the go. I mean, you had to hurry and pack, unpack, get dressed, do the makeup. He, liked your makeup a certain way and wanted you to look a certain way, which was fine with me because I like the makeup, I like all that, so he did too, and we got
yeah. I'm the
along
same.
great.
I've got makeup on today. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, he liked all the eye makeup and all that stuff, and I do too. I did too. I still do, and so it was great, and it was wonderful to watch him from the side of the stage, and a lot of different things took place, fun stories, being on the plane, being in the audience, watching him. I never tired of watching him. I never got tired of the plane. I was scared to death on the plane, and he didn't
Yeah.
like flying either. But it was fantastic. He'd do a noon show. We'd get on the plane. We'd go to the bedroom on the plane and we'd sleep or we'd study, or he'd rest and we'd get up and go to the next city, do another show perhaps, or fly and we'd get to the next hotel and then wake up the next morning and be
Tiring.
ready for a noon show. And you really and we never saw anything else. I only saw the limo, uh, the convention center, the event, and the hotel room. We never went out. And a couple of times I kind of hit my head against the wall, and he goes, "Oh, honey, don't do that." And I was like, how do you do this? How do you do this? He
Yeah,
goes, it's a,
yeah.
it's a lot of discipline. And then he said, if you're going to be with me, you're going to have to learn how to do this. So we used to meditate. He taught me how to meditate with him because that's what helped him ground himself and
Yes.
get himself centered. And then, we'd go backstage and he'd chuck and jive with the guys. And then he'd find a little corner, usually somewhere before he'd go on stage, and he'd always pray uh, to God to give him the best show he could for his fans and not to forget the words, because sometimes he had a propensity to forget words
Yeah.
if the song was very wordy. And that first year that he did Trouble, he would forget the words, so he would have the words with him on stage, and then once he felt comfortable, he'd put the words, the lyrics down. But it was wonderful, and I never tired of it. He
He's
had a
very, very, very strenuous on the body though. Just all
he
those
had
sort
a
of hours, all those
he had
shows.
a
Yeah.
grueling schedule, and
Oh,
people say, "Oh, well, he was miserable. He holed up in his room for 3 or 4 days." Well, yeah, he was resting.
yeah,
You
that's right.
know,
Yeah, fair enough.
he
Fair
would he
enough.
would go and rest and read the Bible, and we'd watch TV, and we'd study, and we'd talk about astral projection, and um, life after death, and Judaism and Hinduism and Zen and Buddhism and all the forms of Christianity. And um, that's how he relaxed. And, he
Yeah.
played his football, and he took his three-wheelers out, and he went driving around, and he had fun. Don't think that he didn't have fun, but he
Yeah.
worked hard and he played hard.
So what's your best memory? The one that you think Elvis. What's your best memory of Elvis and the closest story? How you remember Elvis? Like, what kind of
God,
person
it's
was he?
so tough.
Oh,
It's so tough. There are a lot of personal things that I remember that I
yeah.
don't speak about because he
Yeah,
wouldn't
fair
want
enough.
me
Yeah.
to.
Yeah, fair enough.
Um, and I do that out of love and consideration and honoring him.
Yeah.
Um, it's so hard to say, but this was an extraordinary human being. He was so gifted by God, and um, he did so much work. I think the thing that impressed me about him the most is he did so much work on his soul and so much work on his spirit. And he said to me, when we were studying, he said, "We're on the physical plane," which we are. And there are 7 astral planes after the physical plane. And he wanted to do so much work on his spirit and his id, which is your soul, that he said, "I want to ascend as high as I can to be as close to God as I can when I die." And he didn't think he was going to die. I mean, he didn't talk about that, but he was doing work on his soul so that when he entered um the kingdom of God, that he could be as close to his maker as possible. That's what impressed me the most about him, not
Mm.
the incredible entertainer he was, but the personal man that I knew. I knew i knew him in a different way than most people do. I knew him in a way that his fans don't know him. They'll never know him. They can read every book, but that doesn't tell you who he was. It'll tell you a lot of things that different people did with him and certain experiences they had with him, which I did too. And each person that knew him in their own way. Do you
Yeah.
know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
they're going to have different stories than I have. This girlfriend's going to have a different story than I will because she was with him on a time that I wasn't. Um, but the thing that impressed me most about him was that he was the most unique individual that I have ever met before, during, or after. I've never met another human being like this. He had an aura about him. And we studied the color of auras, but he had an aura about him and an energy that when he walked into the room, you wouldn't even be looking, and you would feel this energy. And I would look over and it was Elvis. He had an energy that permeated the room, that came in before he physically ever entered a room. He was unlike anybody I've ever met. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I don't put
And
him
I've
on a
heard that
pedestal.
before as well.
I
I've
I
heard that
don't put
before.
him
Yeah.
on a pedestal, Stewie, but he was so unique. And I call him my Renaissance man, because if you look at his clothing, and I'm going to do a post about this on my Elvis Presley and Mindy Miller group page, he dressed very much like the 17 and 1800s.
Yeah.
If you look at his outfit that he wore when he went to accept the JC award, and even looking at his red coat, look at the way that it drops, everything about it. And look at what he wore when he went to meet President Nixon.
Yeah. That's right.
It's complete. I'm going to do the post. You might want to look at it. It looks completely like Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart. He
Yeah. All in
dressed
one.
like
Yeah.
that. He had
Yeah.
the puff sleeves. He had the high collars, even though he said he was embarrassed about his neck. Um, he had so many different influences, and his mother loved Liberace, and there was one particular outfit that Liberace wore, um, that Elvis had made for him, and it looks exactly like the outfit that Liberace wore when he came on stage, all in white, very long, long white cape. Elvis looks incredible. You don't see people dressed like that then. You don't see them dressed like that now.
Now, no,
His
not at all. That's right.
influences were so worldly, and he was such an old soul.
Yeah.
So when you look at these people that had the high collars and the velveteen jackets and the ruffles around the edges and the ruffles up here and the high collars of everything, including the coats, there's no mistaking it. He was a very old soul.
Yeah, very also definitely. So when Elvis passed, now this is gonna touch the heart as well. When did you find out? Because it's just the world mourned it, and it was one of the worst news in the
I
world. It's just just losing
I
him
had
was
been driving I had been driving the car that he gave me. I got home. I hadn't turned the news on in the car and the radio. I walked in. It was just a couple of minutes after I walked in, and I got a phone call, and I knew from the voice on the other end of the phone, uh, the person just said my name. They said Mindy, like that, and I went, "He's gone, isn't he?" Just like that. I said, "He's
oh
gone." I I I just knew. I just knew by the tone of this person's voice. I just knew. And then Joe Esposito called me and he said, "Pack your things, get ready. We're sending the Lisa Marie out for you to get on the plane and come to the funeral." And I started packing, and then I got a call back, and he said, "You and Linda will not be going on the Lisa Marie. You're not allowed." So I won't go into detail about that.
yeah.
So they had to start bumping people from American Airlines so that we could go. Linda took a different flight than I did. And, you know, Anne Margaret was there, Linda was there, I was there. Um,
Yeah.
Not
What are
that
you
many
saying?
other
It's just yeah.
girlfriends were there. Yeah, I was there for the entire time, 3 days. And the last time I went to view him before we took him to Forest Hills, um, I had brought a little thin prayer book, and I had underlined in it, like he would have wanted me to, things that he could take home on his journey, because we had studied about the Egyptians, who he loved the whole concept of the Egyptians being buried with the things that they loved to carry on to their next journey of life. So I brought this prayer book and I kissed him goodbye, and I put the prayer book under his left lapel under his white suit,
Yeah.
and hopefully he took that home with him. So I don't know how many people gave him gifts in his resting place, but I was happy that I could, and that was the last time that I got to view him, and I viewed him over the whole 3 days. I kept going back and back and back.
And that
Very
would have been
hard to
heart
say.
wrench. That would have been heart wrenching as well. It really would have been.
Heart wrenching. I'm surprised I even remember details about the funeral. I mean, over that 3 days, it was incredible. And Al Strada took care of me, and we're still
Yeah.
very good friends to this day. And he has never written a book, and he's never talked about Elvis, and he's been very quiet. And he was the only one that Vernon asked to stay on for 1 year after Elvis passed. And so, Al Strada is my hero. I will always say
Yeah.
that. He took care of me that whole time. I could barely walk. He literally held me up.
Yeah. Rest in peace. Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Also, you stay close friends with Joe Esposito and the Memphis Mafia as well. So until Joe's passing
Not
recently, and
all of them. I didn't really know all of them, but Joe and I were very close. He lived about a
yeah,
mile away from me, which I didn't know until, I met him. And he was a lovely, lovely, lovely gentleman. And Elvis had, from what I understand from a couple of people in the Memphis Mafia, Elvis had asked for me the last year, 1977, a couple of times, once in Palm Springs and once in New York. And he told Joe to call me, and Joe never called me. And I've been racking my brain thinking, why didn't he call me? But I've come up with a couple of reasons. So I'm not thrilled about it. Um, who knows what have happened, but
Yeah.
I was told this last year. So there are things I'm still finding out.
Yeah, exactly. You always will. Now, Leslie, if you're online, if you've got any questions for Mindy, please put those on now. We'll ask Mindy questions. We have got minimal time because Mindy has had problems with her phone.
My phone, I only
and a
have 13.
percentage.
I only have 13% left. Now it's down to 12.
All right, so we're going to get onto those. So, Paul, if you can actually get your camera up and running, please. We're going to bring you online so you can ask any questions to Mindy if you're listening. I think he's actually.
Yeah,
listening.
if I suddenly disappear, you'll know why. And I don't mean to be rude, but it means my phone is just failing me. And I got a new battery, and I don't know. It's just I'll probably have to get a new phone.
No problem at all. So we've got Paul online. We're going to bring Paul on first.
Okay.
This is Paul Fenech, world champion. So here we go. Here he is. Paul, this is Mindy,
Okay.
Paul. Here you go.
Hey, Stuey. Hey,
Hi,
Mindy.
Paul.
How are you? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. We seem to have a mutual friend, Dominic Daniel.
I am in love with Dominic and his family, Kim and his daughters. This is a man that he really has my heart. I met him, he and his family, when they came to Los Angeles. We all went out. I took him around. We had a wonderful time, and he has become truly. This is somebody that started out as a Facebook friend and has become a really live, good, dear friend. And he's one of the people that really has my back in life. I mean, truly.
Yeah, well, he talks about you all the time, and I at one stage I was doing some promoting, and he asked me to see if you would come out, but I wasn't ready at the time, so we may have missed that boat then, but you never know, we may do something in the future.
I would love to come to Australia. I mean, I have a lot of friends in Australia, Vera Burford, Rosa Damo, so many people, Lynn Horgan. I can't think of them, and I would love to see them there, and I would love to come to Australia when this whole coronavirus thing is done. Hopefully, maybe
Yeah.
we could all work something out. I'm down to 10%, just so you know.
Can I keep talking, Stuey?
Yeah, because ask a couple of questions, and then we'll get some questions going. Definitely, all right.
I was going to say, Mindy, with your karate, I've been doing karate for 39 years. So I started when I was a young boy. And I started because I was getting pushed around at school, not because Elvis did karate, but so it just happened to be that Shotokan karate was when one day my instructor, being German, told me
I'm not an
that.
expert. Most of what I did was for myself to stay in shape because I loved it and because of the discipline, which is why Elvis loved it. He loved the discipline, but mostly for the camera and for action films that I did. So I'm not an expert by any.
Looks like she's dropping out. Looks like you're dropping out there, Mindy. You might have minimal percentage on your phone, so it looks like you're dropping out now. Mindy, you there?
She's frozen up. As soon as I came on, she froze up.
She froze up. Paul, we're going to come back to you very, very soon, all right? After
All right,
Mindy,
mate.
so all right, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Paul.
Okay, mate.
Mindy, you still there? Are you frozen? Looks like she's gone. Looks like Mindy's gone. Mindy? No, unfortunately, it looks like Mindy's gone. We do apologise for that. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. Mindy looks like she's frozen. But she did answer a majority of the questions, which is fantastic. Unfortunately, she was having problems with her phone, and she only had 28% when she came on to the interview. And unfortunately, obviously, it's just run downwards, and Paul didn't get to get the answer to the question, unfortunately. But I will message her, Paul, and we'll get the answer to the question, definitely. Right, most definitely. Look, at the end of the day, thank you so much once again. Thank you so much, Mindy, for coming on the show. I really do appreciate your time, appreciate your effort. You've actually been an amazing guest. And ladies and gentlemen, if you do want to follow Mindy in any of her movies as well, go online and check it out. Amazon's is one of them, which is the left-hand side there. check out Amazon's or Sacred Ground. Amazon is a great movie. Sacred Ground is a fantastic movie. Please check those out. They're both on YouTube, so please make sure you do check those out as well. Now, before we do get Paul Fenech on the show and we invite him on, we've got a couple of announcements to make. Now, as you know, Graceland has just reopened. Only last week reopened. I did announce this earlier on as well. And there are a few stipulations to the opening. Now, with the opening itself, basically they're asking the mansion 25% capacity with the mansion itself. So what they're saying is basically there's not really many people they're taking in there. Staff to wear masks. Temperatures will be taken at the door. And also restaurants are open at 50%, so all your restaurants are open as well. So I thought I'd play a little video that I found about Memphis reopening as well.
America, raise your hand if you're ready for a getaway. The gates of Graceland are open once again, and the #1 American attraction is just a road trip away. Walk in the footsteps of a true legend. Explore 120 acres dedicated to Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll. Here, making dreams come true is in our DNA. Closer than you think and far more than you'd expect. Come home to Graceland, where a lifetime of memories waits for you.
I'm crossing fingers that we can go this year, but maybe even next year. You never know. Now, every week on the show, what I'm going to be doing is there's a show on YouTube called The Gates of Graceland, and it goes into the archives of what Elvis owned, his rings, his jewelry, his suits, paperwork, everything that Vernon basically kept over the years of Elvis being in Graceland. Now, Angie Marchese is the lady that's actually in the archives, and also the host for that same show is Tom Brown. Now, Tom Brown will be coming on the show in season 2. I'm in chats with him at the moment. And also, he's going to talk to Angie Marchese and see, obviously, if she can come on the show. But Tom Brown will definitely be coming on the show in season 2. We've been chatting as well about that. But here's a bit of the Gates of Graceland show. Just going into it now. If you type in YouTube Gates of Graceland, you'll be able to watch a majority of the shows that are on there. But I'm going to play snippets every week just to give you an idea what it's like.
Today's a very exciting day here at Graceland because we have been able to bring back home the very first piano that Elvis ever had here in the music room. It's this 1912 white Canat piano that's right behind me. She's beautiful, as you can tell. The piano has a history. It actually was the piano at Ellis Auditorium here in Memphis. And so back in the 30s and 40s, it was played by everybody from Duke Ellington to Cab Calloway to W.C. Handy. And then when Elvis was a kid, he used to go down to Ellis Auditorium for the gospel sings. And so this piano was used by many of his favorite gospel quartets. And so just so many people played this piano. When Elvis buys Graceland, he hears that the piano's for sale because they are remodeling Ellis Auditorium. And so it was just a natural fit. He paid $800 for it and had it brought here to Graceland to sit here in the music room. It was not unusual. Elvis loved playing the piano and he loved entertaining friends and family, so it would be unusual for him to sit behind me at this piano and just start playing away. Everything from gospel to country to his latest hit to other latest hits, just whatever came to mind. It's really a great opportunity for our guests to be able to come here and experience this because it is such an amazing piece and such a part of Elvis history. Just being able to walk in the front door and have this whole new experience right here in the music room. Again, it's the first thing that's changed in 20-something years here in the house. The house has always stayed the same. So it's quite amazing to be able to bring it back.
I thought I would play that because in the background photo you see here, right there over my left shoulder, right here, there you go, is the original black piano that you had in there for many years. Now that was before 2018 when they put the white piano back in. So obviously they got the white piano and they put it straight back into to Graceland as well. But I thought I'll take you into the room of Graceland, seeing I showed you that video. Now just a couple of announcements as well. We're going to get on to Paul very, very shortly. So Paul will be with you in 1 second. So just a couple of very, very quick announcements. Now, there's been a few birthdays this week as well, which a recent birthday was Big Al from Big Al's Elvis World. He was on the show a few weeks ago as well. Michelle Benetti, it was her birthday recently. Annette Trello, Annette, that was your birthday recently as well. Today's birthdays. Today I'd like to say a massive happy birthday to Glenda Shin. Is it Chin Velitic or Shin Velitic? I never can pronounce your surname. You need to tell me. Call me this weekend, Glenda, and let me know, all right? So happy birthday, Glenda. Happy birthday to Sue Christian. Sue, very, very happy birthday to you. Beautiful lady. We've all become very close as well over in Queensland. And a big happy birthday to Cliff Wright, ETA in America. Fantastic guy as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there is also, if you would like to donate, please ensure that, or go on to the PayPal page. It's paypal.me/Friday Night Live Show. That's paypal.me/Friday Night Live Show. If you wish to donate towards the show. Every little bit helps. Obviously, we want this show to be ongoing, so donations will be appreciated. Not necessary, but would be fantastically appreciated as well. We are looking at sponsorships. We are going to be chatting to a few people over the next few weeks about sponsorships as well. So we do have sponsorship packages available. If you wish to sponsor the show, you'll get your logos, you'll get your videos, and you'll get constant plugs on the show as well. So please ensure that you contact me, and we'll have a chat about it from there. All right. Now, I'm not going to waste any time. This next guest of mine, amazing guy. I've known him for a number of years, and we've become very, very close friends as well. So I thought I'll play a little video before we go into it. I'll play a little video for you first of the man himself, Mr. Paul Fenech. Here Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome award-winning tribute artist, world karate champion, and Australian international promoter, Mr. Paul Fenech to the show. Paul, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, Stuey, and thanks. I'm a bit confused. You told me I was going to be in the green room. It's actually red, and thanks for the M&Ms.
No worries, mate. No worries at all. Did you get the dancing girls and the champagne and did you get all that sort of stuff? No.
No, they didn't come yet. What time are they coming?
They should have been there by now. No, it's great, good fun. Look, sorry about the issue with Mindi. Obviously, our phone's dropped out, so she couldn't answer your question. But obviously, we're going to get. We'll get her answer.
Soon as she said she was down to 13%, that's an unlucky number. 13%. Yeah, I knew something was going to happen.
That's right, exactly right. Now, okay, Paul, so you were born, let's get stuck into it. You were born and raised in Sydney, Australia. You've been an Elvis tribute artist for 23 years. You started performing in 97. Tell us how it all started for you.
Well, I'll make it as quick as possible because a lot of people know the story. I've told it 100 times. I basically, I went down to Elvis Pizza. I was taken there. I was quite ill in 97, and I got out of intensive care, and my family took me to Elvis Pizza knowing I'm a big Elvis fan, and I've not seen an Elvis show before. So I head down there, and there's pizza flowing, there's pasta flowing, there's beers flowing, there's Elvis on stage, and someone said, look, give this guy the jacket and get him on stage, make him feel good. And I got up there and I sang part of a song, and I just fell in love with the place. And once I got better, I started going down every Friday and Saturday night, and I mean every Friday and Saturday night, until the guy, his name was Costa, and Costa, if people out there, especially Australians in Sydney, would know Costa from Radio 2UE. He would ring Stan Zemanek on radio. Anyway, this is the guy that ran Elvis Pizza, and I went there, and one day he said, he was Greek. He'd say, Ella, I've got to come and take the microphone. I've got to go and do a Pete. Can you take the microphone for me and cover me? And I said, I don't know how to sing. he says, mate, they're all drunk. He says, they won't know. Just get up there and do something. He says, you got your black pants on. You look like Elvis. He says, well, I got up there and I just, my Elvis came out as it does. You know, it happens to all of us, right? That's what comes out is your Elvis. And they loved it. And he came out and snatched the microphone back off me. He says, sit down. And after that, he asked me, do you want to sing here? And I said, I can't sing here, or I can't do anything. I got nothing, no suits. He said, go away, go and buy something, do your hair like Elvis, puff it up. He said, so come back. And I did. And he paid me $60, $60 to do a show. And I was going every Friday, Saturday night doing his shows for him. And that's where it all started.
So in 99, you won your first competition. It just really took off for you. So in 2000, only 3 years into your tribute, you started Elvis Alive, your professional show. Is that right?
Yeah. 99.
I've got a snippet of that. That very same. I've got a snippet of that video of Elvis Alive.
You're not going to embarrass me, are you?
Please welcome Paul Fenech.
Wise men say only fools rush in. For I can help falling in love with you. When you don't believe what I say.
So I didn't embarrass you, did I?
Oh my God.
So, like, that was your professional.
Yeah. Go on. I was going to say that was a mixture of some. I think one of them was a contest in America, and those were other just various shows that I performed. I can't remember where they were, but yeah. Thanks for picking the good songs.
No worries at all. I was looking for something where you were young, and I couldn't find anything. I'm going, God, why didn't you send me this info? No, it's just keeping it under wraps. I will find it, ladies and gentlemen. I will be posting it soon.
It's terrible, trust me. My first jumpsuit, it's made out of latex. It's not good.
Oh, that's gold. That's classic. That's classic. So after that, now you performed all around the world. You went to Papua New Guinea, Japan, New Zealand, Canada, just to name a few. Like, how was it traveling and having that sort of lifestyle, just jumping straight into it?
Well, Stuey, if you can appreciate, I was very lucky. I started quite a bit of time before these ultimate contests came on. And when the ultimate contest came on, the ones endorsed by EPE, it was breeding Elvis tribute artists very quickly. When I first started out, so the one on the left there, that's one of my very first shows in about 1999. Big shows. So I'd done a lot of shows prior to that, but this was one of the big shows with a band. And I was very fortunate to have started doing shows, and I got called up by one of the big agents, Bob McKinnon from Gold Star, and he was an old timer, and he came to one of my shows in Parramatta, and he said to me, and believe me, as Mindi said, sometimes things you get very lucky, and I was lucky. Bob came up he was at one of my shows, and he said, "You Paul Fenech?" I said, "Yeah." And I was going to be smart and say, "Well,
never.
You've just watched me." He said, "What's your availability on this date and that date?" And I said, "I haven't got my diary." He said, "I'm blah blah blah," and he says, "One particular guy has just let me down," and he said, "I'm going to give you all his work." And it was work for a year in the clubs. And I mean auditorium work, paid, no door deals. It was just I was gifted, and he said, if you ever let me down in this business, you'll never work again. And that was one of my first lessons. That was about 20 years ago, my first lessons. And I stayed with Bob for a long time and until he retired. And I was very blessed to have got that break because there wasn't a lot of ETAs out there, but the ones that were quite good too.
Yeah, exactly. Now, you started performing at Elvis Pizza, as you mentioned earlier, a restaurant in '97 and purchased it in 2004. Now, what was you trying to achieve in that business? Like you wanted to change, didn't you? You wanted the whole concept of it.
Oh no, it was broke. The guy. Well, there you go. That's that latex suit I was talking about. I think.
See, I found it.
Well, that's out the front of the old Elvis Pizza, the original one in Rushcutters Bay. And the owner of that shop, he was no Elvis fan. He was just running it. This was the guy that came after Costa, and he was only there a few years. And I said to him, do you know? I said, do you know out the front of your shop, so in mid-August, there's a fun run. I said, about 80,000 people run past your business on a Sunday morning. I said, have you ever considered promoting yourself when 80,000 people run past?
A fun run to promote pizza.
And that's what that was. I performed in front of all those people running. And look, he just didn't have the heart for it. And he'd sit there rather play backgammon in the evening than get out there and promote the business. So I offered to buy it, and I did. So, yeah.
Now, so in 2010, 2012, you win the Australian Ultimate Elvis Tribute Artist Contest and compete in the USA for the finals. Now, how was the first win and the feeling in the big Memphis competition? How was that feeling as well?
The first win came by surprise. I didn't expect it. It was in Coolangatta, Winter Sun, and you got the bet. Now we're digging. Now, thanks, mate. Didn't I pay you enough money before the show? My
I've got more, mate. I've got more.
I'll sponsor more. Let me get my wallet now. What was I saying? The first one came by surprise, and I remember there was a few of the guys they're not around now, but they were, and they're good friends of mine today still. Elias Jamor and Morris Poser, and there was a few others in there, and it wasn't as big as what these ultimate contests are now, but I had my sights on winning. I'm going to win it. I was trying my guts out, and when we came out, I got the best prize for best costume, and I thought
it wasn't PVC, was
it? No, this one was the real deal.
Good.
And I got best prize for costume, and I thought, oh well, that's it. And if Morris Poser, he'd know right now what I did next, and I stormed off, and I thought, well, they can stick this trophy where it fits. I don't want the best lookalike. I want to win the damn prize to go to America. Anyway, I walked off, taking my jumpsuit off. The wig came off. I was throwing everything. And then Morris comes in and goes, everyone's aware of Morris Poser. He goes, Paul, they just called your name. You won. And so quickly I put the wig back on. Lucky it was a PVC wig. And that's
a big thing coming up.
And I ran out there. So that was my first one. But to answer the question of going to America, and I think this is everyone's dream, every tribute artist's dream is going to this. It is a dream, and I can't tell you the feeling until you win it. It's such an honour to do it. You really feel special, and it's a dream come true. So I do wish everybody that really tries to win it, I do hope they get a chance to win it one day and have that experience.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that. Yeah. So, I enjoy the competitions as well, definitely, most definitely. So, in 2010, you performed on every Rock the Boat cruise, and you met some awesome household names, some great household names as well. You met some artists in the time.
Rock the Boat. So that was another thing that fell into my lap, and I went on with the first one was with Sean Clush, Sean Clush and Donnie Edwards, and myself and Dean Vegas, and we were the four. And then that Rock the Boat continued. That progressed every year to 2000 and till current. Last year was the first time I didn't do it, but I've been on that ship, and then thereafter I was the only Elvis tribute artist on it until the one that I helped put together in 2018, which was the biggest one ever.
Cruise and Groove.
Cruise and Groove. And mate, I can't tell you how good Mick Manov and his team and Marius Sells. I can't tell you the concept they have is amazing, and they spare no expense when it comes to putting on the best thing. So, Stuey, did you end up going on that one in 2018?
No, I didn't. I wasn't booked to perform on that. We were going to go. Yeah, are you stirring me up there? Yeah.
I'm not stirring you up because I'm going to ring my good mate Meek and Marius, and whenever the next one comes out, which I don't know if anybody knows yet, when it does, I'm putting your name in to be on that cruise because you deserve to be there, mate.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
It won't cost you much money.
Just don't show any more photos like this one or that one.
Hey, that wasn't too bad. I like that one.
Now, you've also performed many times with good friends. Now, Elias, is it Jamal? Jamal, yeah. So you've had done a show Elvis back to back with him as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just friends back to back, and that friendship was built over many years of performing, competing against each other, and look, it is testament to the fact that the Elvis world, it's huge now because of the internet, because of the contests, and we all need to relish in that, and if there's people with issues against each other, they need to put them aside. And remember, the mateship and friendship is most important. And I have so many of those friendships from the competition. That's where I actually met Elias in 2007 in the very first Ultimate Elvis Tribute House contest.
Okay. And I met you first time. It was about 3 or 4 years ago, I think it was, wasn't it? That was the first time we met.
It's not too long ago.
Yeah, Viva. Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, in Viva.
Yeah. Now, so going to Viva in 2014, the current day, you entered Viva over a few years, and you've Service Paradise, and you got second and third place over a number of years as well. Now, I've got a little snippet from you performing at Viva as well. Here we go.
Yeah.
Down in Louisiana, where the alligator goes from me, a little girl, that's where they were. Lady alligator looked me.
You can see how much fun you're having on that stage. You really can. You can see it.
I'm not having fun, Stuey, because as you are aware, in those contests, you get 1 or 2 songs, right, to bring out your best and try to emulate Elvis, his voice, his look, his mannerism, the whole thing. And I feel quite robotic because right up to that 5 minutes before going on stage, you're still listening to it. You're still thinking, how did he do that bit? And that's not how I perform. How I perform is a combination of me being an idiot and me, me being Elvis, and it's somewhere in the middle of me, and that's, and I tend to have a lot more fun that way, because that is quite strenuous. I don't know about you, but I find it quite stressful trying to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I do agree. But it's, at Viva is the first time I saw you sing My Way. And honestly, out of everyone I've seen sing that song, that's the song how I remember you. Like when people say Paul Fenech, I say My Way straight, because that is obviously that's your signature song, because everyone knows the way you sing that. And I was trying to look for a video of that, but Legend, if you get a chance, just type in Paul Fenech My Way into YouTube and just check it out. But your voice in that is just unbelievable. It's amazing, unbelievable, really good.
I think, and maybe some advice to some of the guys who do compete is, stop trying to focus too much on sounding like Elvis. I think that takes the realistic value out of it. Keep it your voice, and I tend to really align well with the words in that song. So I think about my life, and I think how it has affected me. And so when I sing the song, I get a bit emotional. So it sort of comes out. But I was going to ask Mindi, and that was one of the questions I didn't get to ask her, was if she knew a guy named Bruce Jackson. And I met Bruce. He was Elvis' sound engineer. He's an Australian man. He passed away about 10 years ago now. But Bruce told me he came to Elvis Pizza to meet me. He bought the Elvis on Tour jackets. He had a ring from Elvis that Elvis gave him after he fired Bruce, and then asked him to come back. So he had the TCB, he had everything original that Elvis gave him, because he worked with Elvis for 6 years as his sound engineer. And he told me, he said, Paul, my most favourite song of Elvis was My Way. And when Bruce died, I also think about that song for him. But, I align songs to how I feel. So, you're right, it is a song of mine.
Yeah, it's a great, and people remember you by that song as well. So then it all really went to another level for you. So you started Definitive Promotions, all right, which was your promotion company. We're bringing out some amazing tributes from all over the world. Now, what's some of the tributes you brought out? Like that, when did that start? When did that begin for you?
About 2013, I got a call from Jason Russo's dad, they call him Russ, Argentino, and he gave me a call. And anyway, I ended up working very close with Jason Russo on the first one, which was with Cody Slaughter, Sean Clush, Estelle Brown from the Sweet Inspirations. In total, we brought 7 people out from America for this show. It was huge. It was very successful. Jason put his, Jason was more than a drummer. He was a producer and a director of the shows that we did. I particularly think that those shows we did in the time we worked together, there's no other show in the world that came close to what he put into them. Yeah. I was quite okay with, putting these guys on stage and letting that band go to work, but he took it to another level. We had stuff, Stuey, we had stuff like, I think it was for Sean Clush, a 50-piece choir come out and sing In the Ghetto with him. A curtain dropped halfway through it, and the expense, there was no expense spared on what we did for those tours. And we did, as you just seen, Bill Cherry and Kay Shannon. It was called Elvis and Priscilla. That also went to New Zealand. We've done Elvis Meets the Beatles with Chris Connor and a Beatles band from America. I'm about
to go into that as well. So Elvis Meets the Beatles, that was 2015. That was a produced show, but you also had the help of Joe Esposito as well.
We had the help of Joe and Jerry Schilling. Jerry Schilling also came on. Joe did some voiceovers for us, and Jason arranged that. And I got hold of Jerry Schilling, and Jerry Schilling went on TV for me on Channel 7 and did a talk about it, and also did some other promotional stuff for us. And very interesting to hear Jerry's perspective of that very meeting when Elvis did meet the Beatles. So it's and we try to revolve the show around that, but we obviously have to turn it into a concert. And Jason and the band did an amazing job on that one too. I mean, they did an amazing job on all of them. That's why they stand out.
Yeah, and I saw that show in the casino in Gold Coast Casino. Is it Crowns or Palms?
It's I think it's the Palms in
Palms,
the Gold
yeah,
Coast.
Palms Casino, yeah, Gold Coast. So I saw that show over there with Chris, and it's just the footsteps where he's sitting, relaxing, the door opening. It's the whole story, the way you're doing it. It's just awesome. It was really good, really good concert. Now you're also a world champion in Shotokan karate. Do we have a Bruce Lee in our presence, or?
Well, I know I'm no Bruce Lee. I'm the guy that got picked on at school and got my lunch stolen from me, and I wasn't good at teamwork, team sports, and my parents were too scared to let me do any team sports. So I ended up I found karate and I stuck with it, and it was the hardest thing I'd ever did. I copped a hiding at karate, but I kept going back for more, and you know, today next year's my 40th year in Shotokan karate. It was a very style that Elvis started in Germany when he was in the army.
Okay.
The very style, yeah. And in fact, my instructor in Australia, Frank Novak, was German, and he I started doing Elvis, he actually approached me and he says, Paul, he says, you know this Elvis Presley show you do? He says, I got a picture for you. So he actually sent it to me, and it was a picture in the dojo in Germany that he trained at, where Elvis trained in this particular dojo that my instructor trained in. So there's a lot of links here that I had no idea about, and Elvis studied Shotokan in Germany for 2 years. Yeah.
Well, I've got a little clip from you, Elvis in the Gardens of New Zealand. And that was you doing karate on stage. So I thought it's the whole, you know, you're a tribute artist and karate, and Elvis did karate on stage. And I thought, you know what, this actually be a good thing to show. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this. And it's actually quite interesting. Just watch the movements. Be very close attention to his movements. I love that bit when you actually come up and you actually lock like that when you come up. It's like, now fight.
Be careful.
I showed that to my wife, and the wife goes, "You don't really want to mess with him, do you?" I went, "No, you don't."
I'm glad you didn't show the second part of that, because I didn't know how much I tired myself out. So when I then went and continued the song and had to sing the second verse of Johnny Be Good, and I could not get my breath in the whole song, and I said to myself, I will never do that again. Yeah, look, it's just something I do. It's not something I've copied anyone from. It just happened to be that Elvis was an entertainer first, a martial arts second. And it was written, and I read a quote a long time ago that Elvis wrote, that he said, if entertainment wasn't his business, martial arts would be. And I'm kind of the opposite way around. But no, thanks for that. It was I'm tired watching it.
Now, ladies, if you've got any questions for Paul, please put them in the comments now, and we will get on to answer them in a moment as well. Now, also, Paul, you have your own dojo school as well. Is that right?
Yeah. I've got about 50 people in my dojo. I think that's in Randwick. That was just last year. I think it was last year. Yeah, so we haven't had much training this year. We've been training on Zoom. So I have my students basically in my thing. And just so you know, a lot of people would know my son Anthony, who is also my son Anthony, who does Elvis, is also a black belt.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah, he's a
and so is
tribute
my
artist,
daughter.
and your daughter as well. That's right. Yeah.
My daughter's an Australian champion. She's a 3rd degree black belt, and
Wow. Okay.
she's a pocket-sized rocket ship. She's crazy, but you know, at least they got something from me.
And it's you don't want to mess with your daughter as well, so.
No, my daughter's a tough one. I've fought with my daughter on a number of occasions, and when I decide to just be soft on her, I think, you know, she goes ballistic. She's very strong. She's going to be married. She was supposed to get married in May, but that because of the virus, she got postponed till November. But I feel sorry for my son-in-law. He's probably watching. Ross, be careful.
Be careful of Ross. Now, congratulations to them as well, and I hope all the wedding goes as to plan as well. Now, you also work in radio. You work at 2CH.
Yeah, I work in radio 2CH, and once I sold the restaurant 3 years ago, I another blessing, another door opened up, and like you said, I've been blessed again, and I get to meet some really wonderful people, and I work with some fantastic announcers and my team, and you know, Tim Webster. I'm sure you remember Tim Webster from Channel 10. Tim's a friend of mine. He goes for the Roosters. I'm a Rabbitohs man. We're fighting it out tonight for our first game back. But yeah, and you know, I think touching on some of the things that I've done, it's just, you know, sometimes you look back and you go, geez, I've been very lucky, and I do think I thank God, and I just think that the way things have turned out, and not everything goes to plan, but they always turn a corner for a reason. And I once I sold the restaurant, I just wasn't sure what my next step was, but all of a sudden this opens up. In fact, I invited 2CH to my place because I wanted to buy some advertising from them, and I was advertising at the time Dean Z's. We were doing a tour with Dean Z called the Comeback Special, 1968 Comeback, and you know, Dean Z is the best in the comeback. He's just in his element, and I've got pictures of him. It's Elvis, you know. That's how close it looks. And that's how I got the job, because I was speaking to the boss who came to see me about selling advertising, and he ended up offering me a position with 2CH. So, you know, things happen for a reason. I'm loving my job. I'm loving everything. And Stuey, can I ask you something while I got you here? How is your darling wife Shelley? How's she going?
She's not had a good run at the moment. So the last on Friday last week, we got the news that her nan passed away. So she's had a lot of stress of that as well. We watched the funeral online for the reason of we could have gone, but the problem was because she goes into her seizures. Unfortunately, she didn't want to disrupt the funeral, and she's glad she did in a way, because we watched the funeral online. They put together a Facebook page, and we watched the funeral online, and she actually went into a couple of major seizures attacks while she was watching the funeral as well. But she's getting a little bit better now, but it's got to a point now where she's lost her speech. So she literally, some days she can't even talk at all. So we use a text to speech at the moment. But she's just staying strong and just fighting. You know, some days that, you know, they want to give up, but you know, I stand beside her and I just fight with her, and that's what it's all about. It's about standing by your partner and fighting with him. You know,
my heart goes out to you, mate, and I know there's thousands of people that are concerned and that care about you, mate, and you know, for what you're doing, and you know, standing by, mate. I put you on a pedestal, really. I couldn't imagine having the love of your life going through that. So, mate, I know 1,000 people will say the same thing as me. May God bless you, and God bless her. And we just pray that, you know, there's a cure or there's some medication that can help her get to back to some normality.
Yeah, exactly. And she's not on the problem is because it's a sickness that's not recognised at the moment, and it's not investigated enough. There's no tablets or no medication for it. So basically what they're doing is we're hoping in the next few weeks that they're going to sit down and talk to us a bit more and find something that might suppress the attacks or suppress something, but they don't know what they're working with. That's the problem, you know. It's just an ongoing battle. And it's been like this for, you know, she's been like this since October last year now. It's, you know, really bad.
Yeah.
It's been going on for about 3 years, but it's got worse the last 6 weeks. It's got worse, you know, which is not good. Yeah.
Well, I just hope, you know, when we get to parks, I know most of us have all missed we're going to miss the Viva this year because it's a big part on everyone's calendar, including mine. But hopefully we get to parks and get to that festival and everybody supports that. And what we'll do is, mate, I think we should, and I know a lot of people have already donated their time and done some stuff. But how about we all get together and put our heads together and do something at parks as a tribute to Shelley and yourself, and try to raise some serious funds. So leave it with me, and we'll see what we can do for you. Yeah,
definitely, mate. Thank you. We'll definitely chat soon. Look, we're going to go into a few questions now. We've got a few questions here. Let me have a look here. Here we go. Now, Vicky Mavro come on and said, Paul, I remember the first time I met you at your Elvis Pizza restaurant and I was blown away.
Thanks, Vicky. I can't say I remember you, but
you meet so many people, though. Yeah.
For many reasons, but I can only say that Vicky, I can only say that it was all about. For me, the success comes from the happiness, and when people walk out of the restaurant or my show or whatever I was doing, and if people say, you know what, I've had a damn good night, well, then I've done my job. Money means nothing until you've satisfied the audience, and there was a couple of times in my career that I'd not accepted payment for a job or a gig because I felt it didn't go well enough, and so I'm glad that one did. So thank you, Vicky.
Another one's come up is Margaret Matthews. Hi, Paul. Was it more difficult to perform to a soundtrack, as in contests, than with a live band?
Margaret, because I've been performing with live bands most of my life, I find it very natural to go with a band, and I can sort of conduct the band and get them to, you know, go around again, or to bring it down, bring it up, faster, slower. So in that facet, it's for me, it's much better. I know the backing track is very good because you know when it starts and you know when it stops.
Yeah.
And you know everything in between. You can plan perfectly the finish. With a band, sometimes you can, especially with the drumming of the last part, especially a fast song, and you want a big finish, it may not end the way you like it. But so for me, I like both ways. But the real live feeling comes with a band, and I think in a contest, I think everyone should, in a final, should play with the band. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Now I've had Kathy come on as well and say, talk about EDU, Paul, please. Thanks.
All right, Kathy.
So I didn't bring that up. I should have brought it up. So Elvis Down Under, New Zealand. Let's talk about that. Tell me how that started. Tell me what the process is. I've been invited a couple of times. Unfortunately, it's been very hard for me to get there. I'm hoping not this year, hopefully next year. I'll just see how we go. Hopefully this year. I don't know. See how we go. But yeah, let us know. Talk about that.
Elvis Down Under. So I don't know, probably 2004 or 2005 or 3. This crazy woman rings me, and she says, and she's got this, "Hey, hello," you know, with this Kiwi accent. I can't even. Hello, cuz. Anyway, she says, "I'm looking for Elvis. And I said, "You've got Elvis, baby. How can I help you?" And she says, "Well," she says, "I'm ringing from the Yellow Pages. I've just landed in Sydney. I need a place to go to watch Elvis." I said, "Well, you come to my place." I said, "My restaurant." You know, I said, "Come to the restaurant." So it must have been 2004. And I said, "Come to my restaurant in Sydney." And I think I picked her up, and she came in. I'd not met her before. She washed it. And we just hit it off, became good friends. And in 2007, she introduced me to a promoter in New Zealand who then toured me of New Zealand. And I toured New Zealand in 2007. but thanks to Kathy. And then I got involved with Elvis Down Under soon after, and I started running it. I find when people are running events that are not Elvis fans and lovers of Elvis, there's always a portion of that passion missing. Yeah. And I found that over there when it was being run in one of the clubs, it was just mistreated, the event. You know, didn't have the love in it. So I ended up taking it over, and I've been part of it ever since. And to all the Kiwi fans out there, and you know, I love yous all. I've made it's like my real family. And Kathy and I I told Kathy this the other day. I said, you know, we sort of joined the ANZ spirit here, and people don't know it, but it was me and her that connected in the Australian and New Zealand thing nearly 20 years ago, and it's now you can see that in all the Australian festivals, the Kiwis do come over, and some of the Aussies go over there for the Elvis Down Under. So it's a contest. It's a contest, and it's a show over a period of a weekend. They've raised the money now to about $3,500 for the winner. It's not EPE endorsed, but it is. It's definitely worthwhile, and a lot of Australians have won it, as have Kiwis. The most recent being Shay Orton, who won it last year. So yeah, look, I think last year or this year. I can't remember when Shay won it. Johnny Angel, everybody knows these guys. Brendan Chase, they've all won it. I think it's time you come over, Stuey, and show them your Elvis.
Yeah, mate, I'd love to. I've been over there. I met you. I saw you in Elvis in the Gardens. I came over to New Zealand and watched when Justin Shandor performed. So
that's
I
right.
came over there then. Yeah, so I looked forward to that. That was really good fun, and stayed with Brendan as well. So hopefully, yeah, I'm hoping this year. If not, it'll be next year, definitely. But yeah, let's cross fingers and we'll work it out from there. Most definitely.
Absolutely.
Look, that's all the time we've got for the show, Paul, as well. But before you go, let me just let everybody know, if you want to follow Paul, please check out his Facebook page. Obviously, Paul Fenech, Sensei and Elvis. Friend request him, please feel free. That's the actual picture on the screen now. If you do want to follow his karate world as well, Paul Fenech, Shotokan Karate International Australia, please like his page and check that out as well, most definitely. All right, so any of those pages and check that out from there. Once again, Paul, thank you for your time, buddy. I really do appreciate your time. It's been amazing. It's been good fun. It's been a good laugh.
And Stuey, thank you, because when I first watched your show a few weeks ago, I was actually glued to it. For the entire period. It's very rare that I, watch Facebook or watch any event, for more than 30 seconds or 1 minute. My attention span's quite small. But you've done a great thing here. Really, what a great initiative you've done. I hope people get behind it. I'd love to see that show sponsored and carry on after COVID. This is just a beautiful thing. And there's some more great stories out there that I'm sure you'll uncover soon. So thank you for having me on.
Yeah, most definitely. No, thanks, Paul. Appreciate your time, and all the best with 2CH, all the best with promotion company. And well, I'll definitely see you soon in the next few months anyway. All right?
Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Paul. Take care.
See you, mate.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Paul Fenech. Paul was live on the show with us. Amazing guy, great guy. I've always got along really well with Paul, got along with Anthony as well, his son. We've all done work together, all performed together, so hand on heart, he's a fantastic bloke. I've got a lot of time for him, definitely. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me on the show. Let me make a couple of announcements before you all disappear. A couple of announcements as in a few future shows coming up. Now, this is season 1, as you know. Season 1, we've got obviously a few shows over the next few weeks. Every season has got 12 episodes. Every season has got 12 episodes. So basically, the last show that we've got is on the 19th of June. Season 1, episode 12. Okay? So that's the last show we've got. Then we're going to take a break. We're going to take a couple of weeks off. So I need to prep for the first show, episode 1, season 2, which is Friday, 10th of July. Now, what we are celebrating is, we are celebrating this here, the Friday Night Live show special, celebrating Viva Surfers Paradise. Now, the 10th of July was the initial launch date of Viva Surfers Paradise. Unfortunately, it has been cancelled. But what we are doing is we are getting together with Surfers Paradise Alliance, Christoph and Mike, Kay Shannon, Dean Vegas, Russ Roberts, and a few of the headliners as well that were supposed to be at Viva Surfers Paradise, and they are going to be live on the show. So that's a chat show about the past of Viva Surfers Paradise, about the present, about the future. So that's going to be a show dedicated to the Viva Surfers Paradise Festival. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check it out. Next week, don't forget that virtual Tupelo Elvis Festival is starting on June the 3rd. So make sure you just type in Tupelo Elvis Festival and you get all the information there. That's a free live concert and there's some amazing tribute artists on there as well. Bill Cherry, David Lee, Diogo Light, Taylor Rodriguez, Dean Z, Cody Dianoth, Brandon Bennett. All these guys are performing. And Jay Dupuis, all these guys performing on the festival as well. Don't forget, 8th of June, Monday, 8th of June, I'm actually doing your tribute, an evening with Stewie V, a tribute to Elvis Presley. That will be on 7 p.m. WA time, 9 p.m. Queensland, Eastern States, 8:30 South Australia, and so forth. So I'm going to Facebook live stream that very same show, and we're going to have some fun, sing a few songs on that one. Now, next week's show. All right. Next week's show, we have got the amazing Diogo Light. That's right, the amazing Diogo Light is going to be live on the show. We're going to go back to the normal time, 8 p.m. WA time, 10 p.m. Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, 9:30 p.m. South Australia, New Zealand, 12 a.m. UK, 1 p.m. USA, 8 a.m. and Brazil, 9 a.m. All right, so that's next week on the show. Also joining Diogo and myself on that show is Mr. Brendan Chase. That's right, Mr. Brendan Chase is coming back on the show. He was on one of the early shows before I started this concept. But we're bringing Brendan back on. We're going to talk about his history. And we're basically just going to have a laugh. Me and Brendan are very, very close mates. We're just going to have a bit of a laugh with that as well. So that's next week, ladies. And remember the time, 8 p.m. WA time, 10 p.m. Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, 9:30 p.m. South Australia. Paul, stay online. I'll chat to you in a moment. 9:30 p.m. South Australia, New Zealand 12 a.m, UK 1 p.m, USA 8 a.m, Brazil 9 a.m. That's Friday the 5th of June. So don't forget to join in on that show. That's going to be really, really good fun with the guys. Going to talk to Diogo Light about his wins over the last few years and his history as well. And he was one of the headliners in Viva Surfers Paradise. So let's see if we can get him also on the 10th of July on that show there. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you do wish to donate towards the show, as Paul was mentioning earlier, we do hope that this show will go forward after the COVID-19 has stopped with coronavirus. Every little bit does help. I want to build up a studio a bit more. I wish I could show you, but I'm going to take a photo later on. We're going to design the other room into a new studio. We're going to take it all out of pretty much a dining room that I'm in. And we're going to move into the massive office. We're going to take everything out of the office. We're in the dining room, so we're going to produce something a little bit different in the other room. I've gone out and purchased a couple more lights today. So every expense is going into the show to give you guys something that you deserve. This show is all about, obviously, Elvis tribute artists. It's all about Elvis. It's celebrating the life of Elvis Presley and going into the history of Elvis as well. On the other side of that, we are going to move into a lot of rock and roll tribute artists as well. We're going to find out. I'm talking to a few people at the moment, and we might get getting a couple of actors on the show. So, but I will keep everybody updated. So I'm in the process of talking to publicists about that, talking to managers. So it's an ongoing thing, emails back and forward. So I will keep everybody updated. So if you do want to donate, please go to paypal.me/Friday Night Live Show, paypal.me/Friday Night Live Show, and there is sponsorship packages available. If you do want to check out our website as well, it's www.thefridaynightLiveshow.com. I've designed a website for this as well. And also, if you do want to like the page, check it out, Friday Night Live Show with Stewie V on Facebook. Please, if you feel free to friend request me as well, Stewie Vieira, and also check out the YouTube channel, The Friday Night Live Show, where all the past shows are actually on there as well. So if you want to check out any past shows, if you miss one, please check it out as well. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, I'd like to thank you all for joining us on this show with the amazing Mindi Miller and with the amazing Paul Fenech. I've said amazing a few many times. My wife gives me shit about this, but it's amazing, amazing, amazing. Here you go. Said it 3 times at once. Legend, thank you so much. You've been an awesome audience. I've had some good fun. I'll see you guys next week, and we're going to have some fun with Diogo Light and Brendan Chase. Thank you, Mindi, once again. Thank you, Paul. See you guys next week. Take care. Love to all.